Before we start, tell us the country you are watching from. Picture this. It's a chilly night, and I'm standing in the middle of a dark alley, heart pounding like a drum. A sleek black limo pulls up, and a man in a sharp suit steps out, his eyes cold as ice. He looks me up and down and says, "You're mine now, kid. Welcome to my world." That was the moment my life turned upside down. At just 17 years of age, I was sold to a billionaire crime mafia. And what he did to me, it's something I'll never forget. I never thought my life would end up like this. Growing up in a small town in Ohio, I was just a regular girl. Think Friday night football games, sneaking out to grab burgers with my best friend Kaylee, and dreaming about getting out of Dodge after high school. My mom worked double shifts at the diner, and my dad, well, he split when I was 5, leaving us with a rusty trailer and a pile of bills. Life wasn't glamorous, but it was ours, until the day it all got ripped away. It was my 17th birthday, and I was wiping down tables at the diner after school, my sneakers squeaking on the sticky floor. Mom was in the back, arguing with the cook about burnt fries. The bell above the door jingled, and in walked this guy, tall, maybe 40, in a suit so sharp it looked like it cost more than our trailer. His hair was slicked back, and his watch gleamed under the fluorescent lights. He didn't belong here, that much was clear. "Cassie Miller?" he asked, his voice smooth but cold, like he was reading my name off a hit list. I froze, rag in hand. Yeah, that's me. Can I get you a menu?" He didn't smile, just slid a black envelope across the counter. "Open it." My hand shook as I tore it open. Inside was a single sheet of paper, typed in crisp font. It was some kind of contract, with words like transfer of guardianship and binding agreement. At the bottom, my mom's signature stared back at me, jagged and rushed, like she'd signed it in a panic. "What is this?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. The man leaned in, his cologne sharp and expensive. "Your mother's debts have been acquired by my employer. You're part of the deal." I laughed, nervous. "What? That's crazy. This isn't some movie. You can't just buy people." His eyes narrowed. "You'd be surprised what money can buy, Cassandra." Before I could process it, my mom burst out from the kitchen, her apron stained with grease. Her face was pale, eyes wide like a trapped animal. "Cassie, baby, I'm so sorry," she stammered, grabbing my hands. I didn't have a choice. They were going to take everything. Our home, our... "Who's they?" I snapped, yanking my hands back. "Mom, what did you do?" The man cut in, his tone flat. "No time for family drama. You're coming with me. Now!" I wanted to scream, to run, but my feet felt glued to the floor. Mom was sobbing, muttering apologies, but it was like she was already a ghost. 2 guys in black suits appeared at the door, their faces blank but their hands resting on what I was pretty sure were guns under their jackets. My heart slammed against my ribs. "Mom," I whispered, begging her to fix this, but she just looked away, tears streaming down her face. The man grabbed my arm, not rough but firm, and steered me toward the door. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be," he said. Outside, a black limo waited, its engine purring like a predator. I glanced back at the diner, at Mom standing in the doorway, her hands covering her face. That was the last time I saw her. The drive was a blur. I sat in the back of the limo, the leather seats cold against my jeans. The man, whose name I later learned was Vincent, didn't say much, just tapped away on a tablet. I kept asking questions. Where are we going? Who's your boss? What do they want with me? But he ignored me, like I was a package he was delivering. We pulled up to a private airstrip, where a sleek jet was waiting, its lights cutting through the dark. My stomach twisted. This was real. I wasn't just leaving town. I was leaving my life. On the plane, Vincent finally spoke. "You're going to New York. Mr. Romano is expecting you." "Romano?" I asked, my voice shaky. "Who's that?" Vincent's lips twitched, not quite a smile. "You'll find out soon enough." I didn't sleep during the flight. My mind was racing, replaying every moment of the last few hours. How could Mom do this? What kind of debt was so bad she'd sell her own daughter? And who was this Romano guy? Some rich creep? A mob boss? My only knowledge of stuff like this came from binge-watching crime shows on Netflix, and none of those ended well for girls like me. When we landed, it was still dark. A convoy of black SUVs was waiting, and I was hustled into one like I was some kind of VIP or a prisoner. The city lights blurred past as we drove into Manhattan, the skyline glittering like it was mocking me. We stopped at a skyscraper that looked like it touched the stars, all glass and steel. The kind of place you see in magazines, not real life. Inside, the lobby was all marble and gold, with security guards who looked like they could snap me in half. An elevator took us to the penthouse, and when the doors opened, I swear my jaw hit the floor. The place was massive, floor-to-ceiling windows, chandeliers, furniture that probably cost more than my mom's entire life. And standing in the middle of it all was him, Lucian Romano. He was younger than I expected, maybe 30, with dark hair and eyes that seemed to see right through me. He wore a tailored suit unbuttoned at the collar, and a smirk that made my skin crawl. He was gorgeous, sure, but in a dangerous way, like a panther you don't turn your back on. "Cassandra," he said, my name rolling off his tongue like he practiced it. "Welcome to my home." I swallowed hard, clutching my backpack like it was a lifeline. "What do you want with me?" He stepped closer, and I caught a whiff of his cologne, woodsy, expensive. "Your mother owed me a debt," he said, his voice low, almost gentle. "A big one. She couldn't pay, so she offered you." My knees wobbled. "Offered me? Like I'm some kind of thing?" Lucian tilted his head, studying me. "Not a thing. An asset. And I take very good care of my assets." I wanted to scream, to throw something, but I was too scared to move. This guy wasn't just rich. He was powerful, the kind of powerful that got people hurt. Or worse. "What happens now?" I asked, hating how small my voice sounded. He smiled, and it wasn't comforting at all. "Now, you belong to me, and you're going to learn what that means." That first night, I was shown to a room that was bigger than my entire trailer back home. A king-size bed, silk sheets, a balcony with a view of the city. It was like a fairy tale, except I was locked in. No phone, no internet, no way out. A maid brought me dinner, steak and fancy potatoes, stuff I'd never eaten before, but I couldn't touch it. My stomach was in knots. I kept thinking about Mom, about how she'd look when I left. Did she know what she was sending me into? Did she care? And Lucian, what did he mean by asset? Was I supposed to be his girlfriend? His servant? Something worse? My mind went to dark places, and I spent half the night crying into the stupidly soft pillows. The next morning, a knock on the door jolted me awake. A woman in a crisp blazer stood there, holding a tablet. "I'm Elena," she said, her voice all business. "Mr. Romano's assistant. You'll be meeting with him today to discuss your role." "Role," I echoed, still in my wrinkled diner uniform. She didn't blink. "You'll need to change. There's a wardrobe in the closet. Pick something appropriate." The closet was like something out of a movie. Rows of dresses, shoes, jewelry, all my size. It creeped me out like Lucian had been planning this for a while. I picked a simple black dress, feeling like I was playing dress-up in someone else's life. When I was led to Lucian's office, he was sitting behind a massive desk, the city sprawling out behind him. He looked me over, his gaze lingering a little too long. "Sit," he said, gesturing to a chair. I did, my hands clasped tight in my lap. "Just tell me what you want," I said, trying to sound braver than I felt. Lucian leaned back, steepling his fingers. "You're going to work for me, Cassandra. Not flipping burgers. Something more valuable. I run a business. A very lucrative one. And you're going to help me keep it running." "Business?" I asked, my voice sharp. "You mean drugs? Guns? What?" He chuckled like I'd said something cute. "Let's just say my empire is diverse. You'll learn the details soon enough. For now, you do what I say when I say it. In return, you live like a queen. Clothes, cars, anything you want. And if I say no," I shot back. His smile faded. "You don't want to find out what happens if you say no." The next few days in Lucian Romano's penthouse felt like living in a gilded cage. Every morning, I woke up to the same insane view of Manhattan. The city buzzing below like it didn't care I was trapped up here. The room was stocked with everything a teenage girl could dream of: designer clothes, a fancy bathroom with a tub the size of a small pool, even a TV that popped out of the wall. But none of it felt real. It was like I was a doll in some rich guy's playhouse, and Lucian was pulling all the strings. Elena, his assistant, was my shadow. She'd show up at 8 a.m. sharp, her heels clicking on the marble floors, with a schedule for my day. "Mr. Romano expects you to be presentable," she'd say, handing me outfits that cost more than my mom's car. I'd grumble but comply, mostly because I didn't know what would happen if I didn't. Lucian's warning about saying no echoed in my head like a bad song stuck on repeat. That first week, I barely saw him. He'd breeze through the penthouse, always on the phone, barking orders in a mix of English and Italian. When he did look at me, it was with that same smirk, like he knew something I didn't. It made my skin crawl, but I wasn't dumb enough to mouth off. Not yet. One morning, Elena handed me a black folder. "Your first assignment," she said, her face blank as ever. I flipped it open, expecting some shady contract or a list of chores. Instead, it was a dossier: photos, names, addresses, even social media profiles. The first page was about a guy named Marco Velez, a club owner in Brooklyn. There were notes about his businesses, his habits, even what he ordered at his favorite coffee shop, black espresso, no sugar. It was creepy, like something out of a spy movie. What am I supposed to do with this? I asked, shoving the folder back at her. Elena didn't flinch. "Mr. Romano wants you to observe. You'll accompany him to a meeting with Mr. Velez tonight. Take notes. Pay attention." "Observe?" I snorted. "What, like I'm his secretary now?" Her eyes narrowed. "You're whatever Mr. Romano needs you to be. Get dressed. Car leaves at 7. That night, I was stuffed into a sleek red dress that hugged my curves way more than I was comfortable with. The heels Elena picked made me wobble like a newborn deer, but she just sighed and said, "You'll get used to it." I didn't want to get used to any of this. Lucian was waiting by the elevator when I stepped out. He looked me over, his gaze slow and deliberate, like he was appraising a car he'd just bought. "Not bad," he said, his voice low. "You clean up well, Cassandra." I clenched my jaw, resisting the urge to flip him off. "Let's just get this over with." He chuckled, like my attitude amused him, and ushered me into the elevator. The ride down was silent, the air thick with his cologne and my nerves. When we stepped outside, a black SUV was waiting, its engine humming. 2 guys in suits, more of Lucian's muscle, flanked us as we climbed in. The drive to Brooklyn was tense. Lucian was on his phone, speaking in rapid Italian, while I stared out the window, trying to memorize the route in case I ever got a chance to run. Fat chance, though. The guys in the front seats kept glancing at me in the rear-view mirror, like they knew I was thinking about bolting. We pulled up to a club called Inferno, its neon sign buzzing red and purple. The line outside stretched around the block, but Lucian didn't wait. He strode right to the door, and the bouncer, a guy the size of a fridge, nodded like Lucian was royalty. Inside, the music was so loud it rattled my bones, and the air smelled like sweat and vodka. People parted for Lucian like he was Moses, and they were the Red Sea. Marco Velez was in a VIP booth upstairs, surrounded by girls in sparkly dresses, and guys who looked like they'd stab you for looking at them wrong. Marco was short, maybe 5 feet 6 inches, with a slick ponytail and a gold chain that screamed, "Trying too hard." He stood when he saw Lucian, his smile tight. "Lucian, my man," Marco said, extending a hand. "Didn't expect you to show up personally." Lucian shook his hand, but his grip looked like it could crush bones. "I like to keep an eye on my investments, Marco. You know that." They sat, and I hovered awkwardly behind Lucian, clutching the stupid little notepad Elena had given me. The girls in the booth eyed me like I was competition, and I wanted to scream that I didn't want to be here any more than they did. The meeting was all business, but it was like they were speaking in code. Words like shipments, product, and territory got thrown around, and I scribbled notes, pretending I understood. Marco kept glancing at me, his eyes lingering too long, and Lucian noticed. He slid an arm around my waist, pulling me closer, and I stiffened. "She's with me," Lucian said, his tone casual but sharp enough to cut glass. Marco raised his hands, like he didn't want trouble, but his smirk said otherwise. I wanted to puke. This wasn't just a meeting. It was a power play, and I was a prop. But I kept my mouth shut, writing down every word, every gesture. If I was stuck in this world, I needed to learn how it worked. Back at the penthouse, Lucian poured himself a drink and gestured for me to sit. I perched on the edge of a couch, still in that dumb dress, my feet screaming from the heels. "You did well tonight," he said, swirling the amber liquid in his glass. "Quiet, observant, useful." I glared at him. "Useful? I'm not your dog, Lucian." He raised an eyebrow, amused. "No, you're not. A dog would be easier to train." I bristled, but before I could snap back, he leaned forward, his eyes locking onto mine. "You're smart, Cassandra. Smarter than you let on. That's why you're here. I don't need another pretty face. I have plenty of those. I need someone who can keep up." "Keep up with what?" I asked, my voice shaky. "Your little Mafia games?" He laughed, a low, dangerous sound. "Mafia? That's such a crude word. I prefer enterprise. And yes, you're going to help me run it. Starting with Marco." I swallowed hard. "What's that supposed to mean?" He set his glass down and stood, looming over me. "Marco's been skimming, taking more than his share. I need proof, and you're going to get it from me." My heart sank. "You want me to spy on him?" Lucian smiled, and it was all teeth. "Exactly. You'll get close to him, go to his club, his parties, make him trust you, and then you'll tell me everything." I shook my head, backing away. "No way. I'm not some undercover cop. I'm just a kid." "You stopped being a kid the moment your mother signed that contract," he said, his voice cold. "You're my world now, Cassandra. And in my world, you either play the game or you get played." The next few weeks were a crash course in Lucian's enterprise. Elena drilled me on everything. How to read people, how to listen without looking like I was listening, even how to flirt without giving too much away. It made me sick, but I did it. What choice did I have? Every time I thought about running, I remembered the guys with guns, the locked doors, the fact that I had nowhere to go. Marco's club became my second home. I'd show up in dresses that made me blush, laughing at his dumb jokes, dodging his wandering hands. He thought I was Lucian's arm candy, some naive girl he could charm. I let him think that, all while memorizing his routines, his phone calls, the guys he met in the back rooms. I report everything to Lucian, who'd nod like a teacher grading a test. But the more I saw, the deeper I got. Marco wasn't just skimming. He was double-dealing, selling Lucian's product to a rival group. I overheard him one night, whispering to a guy with a scar across his face. "Romano's slipping," Marco said. "He's too busy playing king to notice." I told Lucian, expecting him to be mad. Instead, he smiled like I had just handed him a winning lottery ticket. "Good girl," he said, and I hated how his praise made my chest tighten. Now we set the trap. The trap was a party at Inferno, one Lucian planned down to the last detail. He wanted Marco to think he was in control, to let his guard down. My job was to keep Marco distracted, to make sure he didn't suspect anything. I wore a silver dress that sparkled under the club lights, my stomach churning as I smiled and laughed, playing the part Lucian had written for me. But as the night wore on, I started to notice things. Lucian's men were everywhere, blending into the crowd. The music was louder than usual, the drinks stronger. And Marco, he was nervous, his eyes darting to the exits. He knew something was up. Then it happened. A fight broke out on the dance floor, bottles smashing, people screaming. In the chaos, Lucian's men moved in. I saw Marco try to run, but two guys grabbed him, dragging him toward the back. Lucian appeared beside me, his hand on my arm. "Time to go," he said, his voice calm, like this was just another Tuesday. I looked back at Marco, his face pale as he struggled. "What's going to happen to him?" I asked, my voice barely audible over the music. Lucian's grip tightened. He made his choice. Now he pays the price. Back at the penthouse, I couldn't stop shaking. I'd known Lucian was dangerous, but seeing it, knowing I'd helped him, it hit me like a truck. I wasn't just a bystander anymore. I was part of this, whether I wanted to be or not. Lucian poured me a glass of water, his expression unreadable. "You did good tonight," he said. "Better than I expected." I shoved the glass away. "I'm not doing this again. I'm not your spy or your pawn or whatever you think I am." He stepped closer, his eyes searching mine. "You think you have a choice, Cassandra? You think you can just walk away? This is your life now. And the sooner you accept that, the easier it'll be." I wanted to scream, to hit him, but I just stood there, tears burning my eyes. Because deep down, I knew he was right. I was in too deep, and there was no way out. After the night at Inferno, I wasn't the same. I'd look in the mirror and barely recognize the girl staring back. Big eyes, pale skin, a stranger in a designer dress. I kept replaying Marco's face as Lucian's men dragged him away, the way his screams got swallowed by the club's pounding music. I didn't know what happened to him after that, and I didn't ask. Some part of me didn't want to know, but another part, the part that kept me up at night, knew I'd help make it happen. Lucian acted like nothing had changed. He'd sip his coffee in the mornings, scrolling through his phone, while I sat across from him, picking at overpriced avocado toast. "You're quiet lately," he said one day, not looking up from his screen. "Something on your mind?" I wanted to throw my plate at him. "You made me set up a guy who's probably dead now." "Yeah, I'd say that's on my mind." He set his phone down, his eyes locking onto mine. Marco made his own bed, Cassandra. He was stealing from me, betraying me. You think I should have let that slide? "I think I shouldn't be part of your revenge plots," I snapped, my voice shaking. "I'm 17, Lucian. I'm supposed to be worrying about prom, not whatever this is." He leaned back, his smirk infuriatingly calm. "Prom's overrated. And you're not that girl anymore. You're better than that." "Better?" I laughed bitter. "You turned me into a snitch." A liar. That's not better. He stood, circling the table until he was right beside me. I tensed as he leaned down, his voice low. I turned you into a survivor. This world eats the weak, Cassandra. You're still here because you're strong. Don't forget that. His words hit harder than I wanted to admit. I hated him, but he wasn't wrong. Back in Ohio, I'd been scraping by, invisible, powerless. Now I was in the middle of something bigger, something dangerous, and as messed up as it was, I was still breathing. But at what cost? Lucian didn't give me time to wallow. The next day, Elena handed me another dossier, this time on a woman named Sofia Delgado. She was a lawyer, mid-30s, with a penthouse in Midtown, and a reputation for getting shady clients off the hook. The note said she was Lucian's fixer, someone who cleaned up his messes, legal or otherwise. But lately, she'd been asking too many questions, digging into parts of Lucian's business she wasn't supposed to touch. Your job is to get close to her, Elena said, her voice clipped. She trusts women more than men. Be her friend. Find out what she knows. I stared at the folder, my stomach twisting. Another spy gig? Really? Elena's eyes were cold. Mr. Romano doesn't tolerate hesitation. You know that. I wanted to tell her to shove it, but Lucian's warning about playing the game loomed over me. So I nodded, hating myself a little more with every second. Meeting Sophia was easier than I expected. Elena set up, so I bumped into her at a fancy coffee shop, the kind where a latte cost $10. I played the part of nervous new girl in the city, spilling my drink and apologizing like an idiot. Sophia, with her sleek ponytail and designer blazer, laughed and helped me clean it up. You're not from around here, are you? She asked, her smile warm but sharp, like she was sizing me up. Ohio, I said, channeling every ounce of small-town charm I had. I'm, staying with a family friend, still figuring this place out. She bought it, or at least pretended to. We started meeting up. Lunch here, a walk in Central Park there. Sophia was easy to talk to, funny in a dry way, and she didn't treat me like a kid. I almost forgot I was supposed to be spying on her. Almost. But the more time I spent with her, the more I saw the cracks. She'd get jumpy when her phone buzzed, glancing at it like it might bite her. Once, I caught her muttering to herself about evidence and getting out. I didn't know what it meant, but I wrote it all down for Lucian, every word feeling like a betrayal. One night, Sophia invited me to her apartment for dinner. It was a swanky place, all white furniture, and art that looked like it belonged in a museum. She poured me a soda, thankfully not wine, since I was still underage, and started talking about her work. You ever feel like you're in over your head? She asked, swirling her glass. Like you're part of something you can't control? I froze, my fork halfway in my mouth. Yeah, all the time. She leaned forward, her eyes intense. If you ever need to get out, Cassie, you come to me. I know people. I can help. My heart pounded. Was she testing me? Did she know I was reporting to Lucian? Or was she genuinely trying to save me? I mumbled something about being fine and changed the subject, but her words stuck with me. For the first time, I wondered if there was a way out of Lucian's world. I didn't tell Lucian about Sophia's offer. I couldn't. If he found out, I didn't know what he'd do to me or to her. But I kept feeding him scraps of info, enough to keep him off my back. It was like walking a tightrope, and I was one wrong step from falling. Then things went south. Fast. I was at the penthouse, scrolling through a tablet Elena had given me to study Lucian's business, when the elevator dinged. Lucian stormed in, his face like thunder. He grabbed my arm, yanking me to my feet. What did you tell her? He growled, his grip tight enough to bruise. Tell who? I stammered, my heart in my throat. Sophia, he spat. She's gone. Disappeared. And I know you've been talking to her. I shook my head, panic rising. I didn't tell her anything. I swear, I just did what you said. He shoved me back, and I stumbled into the couch. Don't lie to me. Cassandra, she's got files, documents that could ruin me. If you helped her. I didn't. I shouted, tears stinging my eyes. I don't even know what she's doing. You're the one who made me spy on her. He stared at me, his chest heaving, like he was deciding whether to believe me. Finally, he turned away, running a hand through his hair. If you're lying, you'll regret it, he said, his voice low and dangerous. I sat there, shaking as he stormed out. For the first time, I realized how deep I was in. Lucian wasn't just a control freak. He was paranoid, and that made him unpredictable. If he thought I betrayed him, I was as good as dead. The next few days were hell. Lucian had his men tailing me everywhere, watching my every move. Elena stopped talking to me, her face a mask of suspicion. I was stuck in the penthouse, no assignments, no contact with the outside world. Just me, my thoughts, and the gnawing fear that Sophia's disappearance was my fault. Then one night I found something. I was rummaging through the desk of my room, desperate for anything to distract me, when I noticed a loose panel in the drawer. Behind it was a burner phone, the kind you see in crime shows. My hand shook as I powered it on. There was one text from an unknown number. Asterisk, if you're reading this, you're in danger. Meet me at the pier, midnight. S asterisk. Sophia. It had to be her. My heart raced. Was this a trap? A test from Lucian? Or was it my only shot at getting out? I didn't know what to do, but I couldn't stay here. Waiting for Lucian to decide, I was a liability. At 11:30, I slipped out of my room, heart pounding. The penthouse was quiet, the guards probably thinking I was asleep. I'd watched enough of their routines to know there was a service elevator they didn't check as often. I took it, holding my breath as it creaked down to the basement. From there, I snuck out through a delivery entrance, the cold night air hitting me like a slap. The pier was a 20-minute walk, and every step felt like a lifetime. The city was alive, taxis honking, drunk people laughing, but I felt like I was in a bubble, every shadow a threat. When I reached the pier, it was deserted, the water lapping against the docks like a warning. Cassie, a voice whispered. I spun around. Sophia stepped out from behind a crate, her face half hidden by a hoodie. She looked different, scared but determined. You came, she said, her voice low. I wasn't sure you would. What's going on? I asked, glancing over my shoulder. Lucian's losing it. He thinks I helped you. She grabbed my arm, pulling me into the shadows. You need to get out. Now. Lucian's empire is crumbling. Cops, rivals. Everyone's closing in. He's desperate, and desperate men do ugly things. I swallowed hard. Why are you helping me? She hesitated, then sighed. Because I was you once. Trapped, thinking there was no way out. I got free, and I'm not leaving you behind. Before I could respond, headlights cut through the dark. Tires screeched, and a black SUV roared toward us. Sophia cursed, shoving me toward the water. Run. I didn't think. I just ran, my sneakers pounding the pavement as shouts echoed behind me. Gunshots cracked through the air, and I ducked behind a stack of crates, my chest heaving. I couldn't see Sophia, couldn't tell if she was okay. All I knew was I had to keep moving. I don't know how I made it back to the penthouse. Adrenaline, maybe. Dumb luck. The guards didn't notice I'd been gone, and I slipped back into my room, my clothes damp with sweat. The burner phone was still in my pocket, but when I checked it, the battery was dead. No way to contact Sophia. No way to know if she'd made it. The next morning, Lucian called me to his office. He looked calm, too calm, like a storm about to break. "You've been busy," he said, tossing a photo on his desk. It was grainy, but showed me at the pier, Sophia's hand on my arm. My stomach dropped. "I can explain." "Don't," he cut me off, his voice like ice. "You had a choice, Cassandra. You chose wrong." He nodded to someone behind me, and strong hands grabbed my arms. I screamed, kicking, but it was no use. The last thing I saw was Lucian's face, his eyes empty, like I was already gone. When I woke up, I was in a car, my hands zip-tied behind me. The windows were tinted, the road a blur outside. A man I didn't recognize sat beside me, his face hard. "Where are you taking me?" I asked, my voice hoarse. He didn't answer, just stared straight ahead. I thought about Mom, about the diner, about the life I'd lost. I thought about Sophia, risking everything to help me. And I thought about Lucian, the man who'd taken my freedom and turned me into someone I didn't recognize. I didn't know where I was going or if I'd make it out alive. But one thing was clear, I wasn't giving up. Not yet.